So when you have a KRUTZ instrument, you could go, there's Anton KRUTZ, he's a master luthier, and he makes the top level instruments played in symphonies around the world, and they also make a student line of instruments. So you could trust the fact that, hey, they make these top line instruments. So that's one thing. The other thing is that we make violins, violas, cellos, and basses from student to professional, right? So it's the full line of instruments. So you could find our instruments, our basses. We have the entire bass section of the Moscow State Symphony Orchestra playing on Anton KRUTZ basses. We have basses, Principal Boston Pops. We have Principal Washington State. We have instruments in symphonies around the world, right? So we have, in essence, in cars. I myself make a lot of analogy to cars, and you think it's an odd thing to do, but everyone knows cars. Everyone understands cars, and so when I talk to clients that really don't know, when you make an analogy to cars, it really helps them out. Say, we make the Ferrari and we make the Ford Tempo. They go, I got it, right? Everything in between. And so every other brand, if they just make the Ford Tempo equivalent in terms of just that kind of student line, they don't know how to make a Ferrari. Then they're limited in their knowledge to make even a good Ford Tempo. So I use that analogy also. All right, so there we go. So I'm not the only one, but that analogy with cars makes people feel comfortable, but you have to feel comfortable yourself using it. Because then they understand. Another analogy to cars that I use is people ask all the time, why is this violin $500 and this one $5,000? Because they look the same, right? They have four corners, they have purfling, they have pegs. I mean, why? And then there's another one that's outrageous, it's like 5 million. It's like, why? So that is the number one question: is why? What's the difference? And so the car analogy I say is like, look, I could barely tell the difference between like a Chevy or some other car, but there are people that know cars that'll look a block away and say that's not only what kind of Chevy it is. They'll tell you the year it was made because of the way the bumper is shaped, because they know, right? And so there are ways to, the people that understand cars can tell you what, why one's that way, and so these instruments have have the same. There's an understanding why instruments are that way. Okay, so yeah, I use the Taurus Mustang analogy. Yes, describe differences between student and step up. Yep. Use what analogy fits the customer best. Yeah, that's true. But every customer that comes in almost drives a car. So you don't know what fits them best or not, but you do know that they understand cars. So that's just the one analogy I know. Automatically I pull that up because they may be a doctor and I have no analogies to be confident in using any kind of medical analogy. So the cars are always a warm, safe bet to use, because usually people understand that. One of the things I say to all staff and I work by is that communication is not what you're trying to say; it's what the other person understands. And so if you can have a lot of data and information about instruments, and if it's going over somebody's head, you're not communicating. You're just throwing information at them. So even though as a master luthier, I could have this intense knowledge and real detail, it's not necessary if you understand the product and you can equate it in really personal, a personal way that that the customer understands. Because in the end, you don't have to make the sale right then and there. You just have to get them at being comfortable with you, and that's part of the process of using other analogies. So so they get comfortable with you, comfortable with the product. Going back to why KRUTZ is unique, is that all our prices are published online. So we don't have play a game of map pricing. So a lot of things you sell, products you sell, and there's even in string instruments, they're using map pricing. So map pricing basically says my retail price is a joke, and so we don't play that game. We only have retail prices online, and so everyone could look online and say this is what the retail price is. So whenever anyone comes into, like, we own KC Strings, the retail store, everyone comes in, nobody's questioning, well, is this instrument really worth this or not? Because the retail price is the same everywhere. And they could go online and Google KRUTZ instruments, and there's, I think, depending on where you're at, there's pages and pages and pages of information on KRUTZ instruments. So, and Google is the final arbiter of what's authentic, right? Because you could say anything you want about yourself and people Google it, and if you go, oh, Google, you're there on Google, then what you say is valid and authentic. And so when people come in, nobody's questioning that these instruments have that value. They may want to know why, one instrument's more expensive than another, and you use the car analogy, but nobody's questioning, well, why should I trust, this instrument, this 200 level being more expensive than this 100 level, and this 300 or 400 level being more expensive than this 200 level, because the description and the prices are the same everywhere. Now, in the store, you could give away the instrument. That's up to you. Whatever discounts you need to do, that's up to you. But at least there's a price validity to it, because people find us on Google. Another reason why the brand is different and why you're going to have an easier time selling it is because in this day and age, especially now with everything going on with COVID, what is happening online gives a brand its validity. So we have an incredible amount of social media posts and KRUTZ string players, that, well, they were touring before, now they're now they're doing concerts, and we have a lot of social media out there, and social media is we view social media like social proof, right? So people wonder, are they legit? Okay, so Google has some stuff on them. Let's look at Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, and there's a ton of information out there, right? So on KRUTZ, and you're not going to find anything on anybody else. Go ahead, look at social media for any other string brand, and you're going to find nothing on them, because only real brands produce content. Regular Best Choice Cola doesn't produce content. Coca-Cola and Pepsi do, right? So, just no name brand shoe doesn't produce content on social media, but Nike and Adidas do. So KRUTZ produces content to provide social proof, and that way you as a salespeople don't have to answer questions. Hey, does this instrument have price validity? Because that's where the comfort starts. And the social proof of Google, of social media, and Google having validity of brand, that's what that is. So in the end, I could tell you all these things about, hey, KRUTZ's unique brand. You could go, okay, let me look on Google, let me look on all social media, and that backs up what I say. So that's a really, really important thing, and it's going to be more and more important as we go forward, because you can have a nice website, but everyone's going to check Google and social media, and we are, there's no other brand that even comes close to what we do on those platforms, and that just helps give everyone that comes into the store much easier time to sell an instrument.